Welcome to the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. Have a question for the show or need assistance with your retirement plan? Give Philip a call today. 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815.
It's a little bit of a sticker shock for all those gifts my true love gave to me, starting with that partridge in a pear tree. Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services, and we're going to have some fun today, starting with the Christmas Price Index. You're going to learn a lot about what's going on with our economy as we talk about the cost of all of the gifts from the song the 12 Days of Christmas. But before we get into that, Philip, I want to welcome you back to the studio. This really puts you in the holiday spirit, if you weren't already, I imagine.
Inflation, right?
Oh, yeah. Inflation kind of puts a damper on things. But before we jump into the Christmas Price Index and start talking about what these different things cost and how this reflects what's going on in our economy today, anything you're looking forward to this holiday season or any favorite memories from holidays in the past, either with the kids, the grandkids, or back when you were a kid yourself?
Well, a couple things, right? I mean, if I look backwards, historically, one of the fun things we used to do, because I moved from Missouri when I was like 8 years old. So, but all my family, I still had family, cousins and grandparents up there. So we'd haul up there quite often for Christmas. And so it was always fun. We'd all get together at my grandmother's house, all my cousins and aunts and uncles, and we just have a great time. It was fun to do and really made some memories of that. I remember snow one year. We actually made an igloo.
Fun.
My brother and I. Yeah, we made the front page of the newspaper there in Cape Girardeau. So,
that's fun. Yeah,
Florida kids build igloo.
Perfect.
Fun time. So
I love it.
But this year, Jen, I'm really looking forward to. We have a new grandson.
Yep.
He's 5 months, about 5 months old now. And so we're looking forward to that. We'll have all the kids and grandkids at the house for a week, and looking forward to that at Christmas time. Yeah,
that will be so great. And I love your childhood holiday memories too, Philip. It was literally over the river and through the woods, like crossing the Mississippi to get
That's
over
right,
there
exactly.
to your family. Well, the Christmas Price Index is what we're going to talk about today. And I imagine for you and your wife as grandparents, the cost of Christmas, you're just going to do what you got to do to get presents for those grandkids. It's not really the same as when your kids
That's
were.
Right. Hey, it doesn't matter what.
Don't worry about it. That's right.
You're going to spend the money.
That's right.
You're going to spend the money.
You absolutely will. But the Christmas Price Index, this is kind of a lighthearted way to learn about the economy. We add up the gifts from the song, the 12 Days of Christmas, and we can compare what those things cost today to what they cost in the past. And here is what's interesting about what's going on this year, Philip. I guess you kind of notice it when you go through the song. It's a very bird-oriented song. There's so many birds in this. The gifts are so many birds. The cost of birds and caring for them is really pushing up some of the costs. So the cost of turtle doves, French hens, geese a-laying, swans a-swimming, all that, they went up by 20%. And here's the other thing. High fertilizer costs pushed up the cost of the pear tree by 28.4%. So, kind of funny to talk about how much it costs to buy turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. But when you talk about those fertilizer costs, Philip, and you think about what that does to farmers and growers and then us as consumers, really something that we ought to be shocked by. 28% increase in that.
Yeah, it's a huge increase. I found that first one very interesting because you're right. The pear tree went up, astronomically. The partridge, it didn't go up at all. So it's like, okay, that bird didn't matter.
Nobody
but you
cares
get to
about
the 3 French hens. Now that went up substantially.
Yeah. Well, because they're French and they're fancy, I guess.
I see. That's what it is. Okay.
Yes, that's what it is. And then higher wages and labor costs for the performers means it costs more for the lords a-leaping and the drummers drumming and the pipers piping. Those costs went up 14.5% for all the performers in the song. And then, Philip, the price for the gold rings, this is really where it's at. That went up by 39% over last year. 1 year increase of 39% for the 5 gold ring. I have to ask, as we talk about this song, do you remember the Muppets version of this where it's Miss Piggy singing out the 5 gold rings line every single time?
Yes. Oh, yes. How can you forget that one, right?
I always have Miss Piggy in my head when I think about this part. But again, this is a lighthearted take on things, but talk about how this reflects what's really happening with our economy when you look at high fertilizer costs, higher wages and labor, what's going on, with commodities and that type of thing.
Well, you're right. And that continues to be the one thing that we have battled in 2022, right? Is inflation. Mm-hmm. Let's just be honest. We're spoiled, right? Because our inflation numbers year over year until 2022 have been 1.5%, 2%,
right.
Nothing extravagant. But 2022 has really laid us out because we've seen inflation up over 8-9%.
Yeah.
And then you look at some specific food costs, and those things have gone up astronomically compared to even the true inflation number. So it is painful. It's been a painful year. And we are seeing some signs of it relenting a little bit, but that little bit of relenting isn't a big deal when we're used to 1% and 2%.
Yeah. It's really, really massive. So let me just get you here to the bottom line on this, Philip. The total cost of the gifts of the 12 days of Christmas for 2022 is a record-breaking total of $45,523.27. That much for all the gifts in the song, The 12 Days of Christmas. A huge, huge number, Philip. It just continues to go up.
Yeah, it really is. And that's about a little over 10%, almost 10.5% from where it was in 2021, which is a little bit more, right, than the inflation number that we talk about.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so again, when they first started calculating this, I don't know if you saw this on the website when I shared all of this with you in preparation for today's show, but when they first started calculating the cost of the gifts in the song in the 80s, everything totaled around $20,000. Today, it's over $45,000. So kind of a fun way to look at inflation. It's funny to talk about what a partridge in a pear tree costs today or 7 swans a swimming or whatever. But how could inflation potentially impact our retirement? That is the important lesson of this more fun topic here on the show today, right?
That's right. Let's not lose track and face of what we're really trying to talk about here. And that's retirement, right? That's the big thing. And it is, when inflation was at 1 or 2%, if people could, they knew what next year was going to be. They could kind of, know where they were. But when we start getting big increases like we saw in 2022, that makes it hard to plan, right? For what it's going to look like. It even makes it more important now to make sure that you have some kind of written plan in place with some worst case scenarios built into it. So that you're going to be okay if we get a couple back-to-back years with this kind of inflation.
Yeah. So important. And so as we talk about putting together a plan here, Philip, and kind of trying to learn how to be proactive with some of these things, if you'd rather give your spouse, your family, the gift of confidence in the future instead of the 6 geese a laying or the how many is it? 4 French hens? Is it 4 French hens?
Yeah.
3 or 4 French hens, however many you're going to get.
Three French hens.
That's right. Thank you. What should you do to get started on helping create that financial strategy for the future if you want to give your gift and give your spouse and your family the gift of confidence instead of the gifts from this song?
Well, first is starting in time, right? Mm-hmm. It's not waiting until that last minute to put together some kind of plan of retirement or doing it late, right? I've already retired. Now, don't get me wrong. Doing it is better than not doing it at all.
Better late than never, right?
That's right. So let's don't forget that. But if you're thinking about retiring, let's just pick year 2025. Well, we probably should have started 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. We want to start that 5 years before we're going to retire to really start to put things in place. making sure that the way we look at our portfolio, that we make sure that the risk is really and truly where it needs to be, because we don't want to see, like this year, right? 2022, the markets have declined substantially. And we don't want that to happen to people the year before they're going to retire. Now, all of a sudden, they've seen their savings, drop by 25%. That would not be good. That's why I think it's important that 5 years before we start putting a plan in place. And we need to make sure what we have is going to last us throughout our lifetime. And Jen, that's really and truly why the last several years we worked hard on developing our process, our core retirement design, allowing people to design that retirement they always dreamed of. But it starts with, you can't move forward until you know where you are. And so that's really the first thing that we look at in our core retirement design is, where are you at right now? How much risk do you have in your current portfolio versus how much risk you should have in your current portfolio? And then really diving into the cost associated with all that stuff and making sure we're on the right path to create that retirement we always dreamed of. And we end up in the end of this process of creating a written retirement income plan, knowing that mathematically we know that our money's going to last as long as we need it to. So not putting some pie in the sky numbers out there, the market's going to do 8-9%. No, we want to drop those numbers down to what we saw in the previous years in terms of what we thought that fixed interest rates were going to do, right? 2-3%. Because if it will work on 2-3%, it'll work on 8-9%, right? We'll just have extra money that we can use. Listen, folks, if you don't have that written retirement income plan and you're getting close to that retirement age, give us a call at 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. I want to encourage you, heading into this new year that we're getting ready to go into, it's important that if you're going to retire in the next 5 years, that you have that written retirement plan in place. Give us a call to get started on your core retirement design. That's 863-285-3815. Or, Jen, you can go to our website at statlerfinancial.com. There's a link to our calendar right there where you can schedule your own appointment on our calendar.
All right, very good. This is the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. We've got more insights from Philip coming up on the other side of the break. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Hi, this is Philip. On behalf of everybody here at Statler Financial, we want to wish you a safe and happy holiday season.
Philip Statler at Statler Financial often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you've saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Philip has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with income you need for as long as you live? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial to find out. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Philip today. 863-285-3815. Advisory services are offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. Philip is the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And if you're wondering who is likely to be more comfortable and confident with their retirement, well, there are a few things you can do to help secure your financial future, and Philip's going to help break this all down for us. Because, Philip, we found this study here from the Employee Benefit Research Institute, And they went and they were asking people who are in retirement and who say they are comfortable, they feel comfortable. And they asked, what are some things that they have done? And everybody who said they were comfortable in retirement has done the same 4 things. So we want to share these 4 keys to a comfortable retirement with our listeners today. And the first one, all these people who responded to this survey who said they're comfortable in retirement, the first thing they all did, they went into retirement with little or no debt.
Jen, I would think that, and you and I would think that that's a no-brainer, right? And really, it is a no-brainer, because every dollar that you owe someone else is a dollar that you can't use to help create or use for retirement income. Now, I will take a step further than that and just give you some experiences, right? Okay. As I look back over my almost 20 years of being a registered investment advisory firm, and the folks I've met with, those folks that did that one thing, retired with little or no debt, have flourished in retirement. I mean, they didn't have to worry about that. They didn't have the head trash. It wasn't something weighing over them the whole time. It makes a huge amount of difference when you go into retirement with zero debt. I mean, it just does. It's just that relief of knowing that's one thing I don't have to come up with every month is that payment.
Right. And that is one of those things that can just nag at you if you don't have a way to take care of something efficiently. Here's the other thing, Philip. Not only do we want to do a good job of paying off that debt before retirement, we don't want to rack up new debt in retirement as well. And I don't want to act like that's just frivolous spending. I mean, that could be things like the water heater goes out and you've got to come up with a way to replace it. That can be a way you could have to rack up some debt. So talk about how you help somebody create a budget for all those retirement expenses, and even factoring in some of those emergency one-offs, because I think that's probably where people are going to run into the most trouble in retirement.
It really is. And Jen, I just want to make sure I heard you right. Did you say budget?
I did say that B word. I'm sorry. I know.
Usually people hear that word and they just shut down and they don't want to listen anymore. But you're right. So, that really, here's the deal, Jen. And that's what I've found is that if I know where my income's coming from on a month in and month out basis, then that kind of makes the budget flow much easier. It gives me a target to shoot for. And so I think that that's the big part of it, is putting together that income plan, because part of that planning is an emergency fund. And some of the things you talked about are emergencies. The water heater goes out. Well, that's not a $10,000 deal. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not cheap. Maybe it's $1,000, $1,500. So I have always been a big believer of having an emergency fund. Now, the problem is that emergency fund doesn't make any money, and people don't like that.
Right.
but that's not its purpose, right? It's there to provide for those emergencies. It's not there to make money. And so I tell people, look, you should have somewhere between $20,000 to $50,000, depending upon what your budget is, in that emergency fund, as a rule of thumb. And so then if you've got that put over there for those emergencies, and you've created this written retirement income plan, well, now I know how much money I've got to spend between Social Security and pension and extra money that I can draw off of my investments. I know what I can spend. And most people, if they retire with that first key, debt-free, they never have an issue with the amount of money they have coming in and being able to do what they want to do in retirement. I think that's the key. And so what does that mean? Well, it means, folks, that you need to have that written retirement income plan that we talk about so much on the show. And one of the things I want to offer folks today that have at least $150,000 built up for retirement is an opportunity to get one of those written retirement income plans. All you have to do is give us a call at 863-285-3815. That number again is 863-285-3815, and let them know, hey, I want to sit down with Philip and I want to look at him putting together a written retirement income plan for me. It's that simple. give us a call at 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services. And the second key to a comfortable retirement, again, this was from a survey conducted by the Employee Benefit Research Institute. They found retirees who say they are comfortable in retirement have done the same 4 things. The first one, going into retirement with little or no debt. The second one is what they said was having a clear spend down strategy. So let's talk about what that means. What does that even mean?
Well, Jen, it's basically, as you're taking income out, what's going to be left. And so here's what I see when I sit down with people. We call it the junk drawer of income, right? Mm-hmm. They have a lot of stuff. They have a lot of accounts. They have a lot of different products out there, and they're getting income, but there's no plan in place. And they're getting what they need, but they don't know when that bucket's going to run out. They don't know where the next bucket's coming from. So our strategy, when we put together an income plan, is we're a bucket approach type firm. We believe in that. And so we create a clear strategy that says, hey, bucket number 1 is going to last you 5 to 7 years. Bucket number 2 is going to last you another 5 to 7 years. And then between bucket number 3 and the growth bucket, hey, you're going to have enough income to last your lifetime. So that's the spend down. That's the, when is that bucket going to run dry, and when am I going to switch to the next bucket? That's kind of what we call the spend down strategy.
All right. So again, it's having a plan for how you are going to be spending down and accessing that money, because the other thing we need to understand here is there's a transition that happens, Philip, when we go from saving for retirement and accumulating and putting money aside to then managing our savings in retirement. We need to understand that everything changes financially, and that's why that spend down strategy is so important, right? There's such a transition there.
It really is. And that's one of the things that I see folks miss the most, if you will. They've worked. Some folks have probably worked, 40 to 45 years before they get ready to retire. And they've done a really good job of putting money away, getting the most out of their 401ks and their retirement plans. And they've done a great job of saving. And then it comes around to retirement time. They don't change what they're doing. They keep doing the same thing, keep making the same investments, keep doing the same thing over and over again, which when you were working, that was okay, because if the market tanked, you were benefiting, right? Because you were putting more money in, you're buying at a low price. So when the market recovered, you were going to benefit from that. Well, now in retirement, you don't have a paycheck coming in. You have Social Security. If you're lucky, you have a pension, and that's it. You have your investments that are going to create the rest of your income. And so often, folks don't change the style in which they're investing their retirement dollars. As a matter of fact, I would say 90% of the time, they don't make that change. Wow. And that's the biggest problem I see for those people as they head into retirement, is they've not shifted gears in their IRAs and their 401ks and that type of stuff into a more risk-adverse approach to creating income.
What would you say people overlook the most when it comes to how they're spending down their savings in retirement? Is it just not accounting for certain expenses, or what do you think people overlook the most?
I'm going to say that most people overlook, when it comes to spending, they really kind of overlook those things that automatically come out of their checking account, right? Like maybe insurance premiums, maybe their utility bill automatically comes out. They've got all these things set up on automatic. It's back of their mind, right? They don't see it. Yeah. So they don't realize it's really coming out of their checking account. So they don't account for some of those things when they start to put together the budget, because they don't see them every month when they come in the mail. They just comes out of their account. A lot of them don't even open the envelopes. And so that becomes, really part of the issue there when it comes to that kind of thing is really the budget and the frivolous spending that they don't realize what they're spending. Right. Out and that kind of stuff. So, Jen, that's really, again, why it's so important that folks put together that written retirement income plan because that gives them that baseline of income. As a matter of fact, I met with several folks lately that say, "Hey, look, here's how much income we can get you," and they're like, "Oh, whoa, I don't need that much income. You know, that's by the time I take my Social Security and that's way more than what I need. Let's pare that down a little bit." But they wouldn't know that, right, if they didn't put together that written retirement income plan. So, folks, listen. If you've not done that, if you've not sat down and put together a written retirement income plan, and you're just taking your income from here, there, and everywhere, and it's meeting your needs, but do you know when you're going to run out of money? That's the key. Give us a call and let us help you put together that written retirement income plan. Listen, if you're listening to the show today and you've saved at least $150,000 for retirement, give us a call. Let us put together a written retirement income plan just for you. That phone number is 863-285-3815. 863-285-3815. We'd love to sit down with you and go through that process.
That number again is 863-285-3815. Talking today about a study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute that found that retirees who consider themselves to be comfortable in retirement, they've done the same 4 things. Philip is going to continue breaking down these 4 keys to a comfortable retirement in just a moment. Stay with us.
Philip Statler at Statler Financial often talks about the difference between retirement savings and retirement income. It isn't necessarily how much money you've saved that's most important. It's having a steady stream of income in retirement no matter how long you live. Philip has strategies that can help you create consistent monthly income for the rest of your life. He can help you make important decisions today so you can have the income you need in retirement. Having a big nest egg is great, but how will it provide you with income you need for as long as you live? Call Philip Statler at Statler Financial to find out. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Turn your portfolio into a plan with help from Philip today. 863-285-3815. Advisory services are offered through Statler Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services in Sebring. Philip was the inaugural Highlander Award winner for Financial Representative of the Year. StatlerFinancial.com is the website if you'd like to learn a little bit more. And today we're talking about a study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute. It found that retirees who consider themselves to be comfortable in retirement, they've all done the same 4 things. So we're calling these the keys to a comfortable retirement. So Philip, for those who missed it, because we've already covered a couple of them, let's recap those first 2 keys to a comfortable retirement and why you think they're important.
Absolutely, Jen. So the first key is to go into retirement with little or no debt. Now, that should be obvious, right? Because if we are in debt, then that's that much more income we have to produce to pay down the debt. Mm-hmm. And that's less income we have to spend or use or create income with. So that's number one. We need to, those folks that I see that retire with little or no debt have a much better success rate through retirement. The second one we talked about last segment was to create a clear spend down strategy. Now, for us at Statler Financial, we believe in a written retirement income plan using kind of a bucket approach so that you are going to spend down each bucket until you get to the last 2 buckets, which are going to last you throughout your lifetime. And so not having that strategy on paper written down can cause problems. We want to make sure that we've got those things in place so that we can have the retirement income we need for the future, and that's the spend down strategy.
All right, so little or no debt, clear spend down strategy. The next key, again, these are people who responded to the survey and said they feel comfortable in retirement. They say they have some sort of employer provided assistance. Now that sounds pretty good, but maybe a little bit harder to get. What can you tell us about that one?
Well, obviously, those folks that retire with a pension, like you just said, it's hard to get these days. But obviously, they're ahead of the curve, right? Because they not only have Social Security, but then they're going to have their pension also. So then they have the three-legged stool still. Not a lot of people do. But then they've got the pension, Social Security, and then the last third of their income they can create from their own savings. But a lot of people don't have that, right? They only have Social Security. And they have a nice 401k. They've got some money saved. So you have to create your own pension. And really and truly, that's why we created the income plan, because that really does give us our pension, right? We can adjust it for inflation. We can tweak it for more money up front, less money down the road. There's all kinds of little nuances that we can walk through to make it be your pension for down the road. Now, within that, you have to use the right tools. Right. And so, we're going to use portfolios. You got to have some risk. You got to have some safety. It takes both things, Jen, and this is people's misconception. It takes both safety and risk to create income that you're not going to outlive. So many people think they can just go all safe. Well, that won't keep up with inflation. Other people think they will be all in a balanced portfolio. Well, what we've learned over time is that when the market goes down, all the markets go down. The bond market goes down, maybe not as much, but it still goes down. And if you're taking money out, that's going to be problematic for your money to last throughout your lifetime. So it takes both. And that's what we put together in our retirement income plans, is both. So obviously the risk side, people know where that's coming from. That's coming from the stock market, right? Having a nice portfolio that's going to help keep up with inflation. So where's the safety going to come from? Well, that's where annuities come into play. Not just any annuity. You got to have the right kind of annuity put in there. One that's not costing you an arm and a leg. One that's going to provide you the income you need down the road. Now, obviously, when you deal with annuities, there's some downside, right? Just like there is when you're in the market. Downside is there's a holding period. Maybe that's 5 years, 7 years, maybe it's 10 years that you got to hold on to it. That's why it's built into a plan, because it's a tool that's going to be used at a specific time for a specific reason. So those are the type of things that we want to make sure that we're looking at when we put together that retirement income plan, Jen.
And I think that's important when you talk a little bit about having both, because there is a balance there when it comes to safety and that non-guaranteed versus what we would call guaranteed or protected income. And that's really what your process is all about, is helping us analyze where we are now, and then identify ways that we can achieve that balance. Before we get into our final key, just talk a little bit about how we can reach you to get started on creating that retirement design that helps us achieve both the right balance between growth and safety.
Absolutely, Jen. So the core retirement design, it helps people to calculate how much risk they have in their portfolio. It helps them determine how much risk they're willing to take. It helps organize their objectives and goals. It reviews where they are compared to their current portfolio in terms of risk and cost analysis. And then it helps them establish, right, the optimized risk match portfolio, which makes that portfolio line up really and truly with their risk number. Give us a call to walk through that process, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Talking today with Philip Statler. He is with Statler Financial Services, and I'm Jen Rezac alongside. And the final key to a comfortable retirement is having some sort of guaranteed income. So, Philip, you were just, we were talking a little bit about that balance between non-guaranteed and guaranteed. That could be Social Security. That could mean a pension. We don't see a lot of that anymore. Or you can create your own stream of guaranteed income that kind of works like a pension. But just talk about how important that is, Philip. Reiterate how important it is to have both, because I think in an ideal world, everything would be guaranteed income, but I don't think that's a reality. So we've got to make sure that we're making the right decisions with guaranteed versus non-guaranteed income, right?
Well, that's right, Jen. We really do. And when you think of guaranteed income sources, the first one that comes to most people's mind is Social Security, right? Social Security is going to come in every month, no matter what. But we have to make sure that we are making the right choice when it comes to taking our Social Security, as well as our pension, and making sure we're putting the right pieces together within that pension to make sure that everything's going to line up with everything else. So you've got the guarantees between Social Security and maybe a pension. And then on the other side, we've got the income plan with some, I'm not going to say guarantees, but with some optimism of here's where we should be. Now, I believe in being really and truly realistic when we put together our income plans. We're not going to use some high number in terms of, the market's going to do 8, 10, 12%. Not going to happen, Jen. We're going to look and say, hey, can my money last as long as I do if I only earn 3%? Because if that's all I make and it'll work, then I'm good, right? So don't let anybody use unrealistic expectations on how much money you can make, whether it's in the stock market, the bond market, and an annuity. It doesn't matter. Don't let somebody give you unrealistic expectations, Jim, because that will just cause everything to just blow up when you need to start taking your income.
And we do need to make sure that we're making the right decision with things like Social Security when you do look at some of those sources of income that you'll have. Talk a little bit about how that fits in. How do we make sure we're making the right decision there?
It's easy for some people to make because they just say, I want to take it now.
They just click on it, right?
They just click on it and go, I want to take it. Well, that's not always the best way to do it. You need to understand, one, what are you giving up if I take it now? And two, is there a better alternative than taking my Social Security now? When I look at my own situation, if you're married, you got to take into consideration your spouse and when are they going to take it? There's a lot of ins and outs, Jen, when it comes to Social Security. And I see people way too often say, I'm going to take it as soon as I can. And folks, that may be a good decision, but more often than not, it's not the best decision. You need to have a plan in place that takes into account when you want to take your Social Security.
Aside from creating an income strategy for retirement, making the right decision with things like Social Security and understanding our guaranteed and non-guaranteed income sources, which is a lot, but what else do we need to think about?
Well, there's a list of things you need to think about, Jen, when you head into retirement and saving and spending in retirement. One is taxes. I can't tell you how many times folks will sit down and say, well, I'm retiring. I'm going to get my Social Security. I'm going to take some money out of my IRA. And so I'm not going to have to pay any taxes anymore because I'm retired. Guess what? It doesn't work that way.
Right.
That's right. You never retire from taxes unless your income drops below the thresholds. Taxes are going to be there. They're a way of life. The other thing people forget about is healthcare. Healthcare doesn't quit. You don't quit paying for it just because you retire. We still have Medicare you're paying for, Medicare supplements you're having to pay for, those type of things. Inflation. Oh, so many people forget about inflation. Why? Because we've seen so many years of basically non-existent inflation, which reminds me, I was at Dairy Queen. I got me a peanut butter parfait.
Yes. And
I can remember when I used to pay $1.59.
Oh, not anymore.
For that peanut butter parfait.
Yeah.
It was $4.79.
Holy moly. Yeah.
So that's inflation, Jen. That's inflation. And then obviously long-term care. people need to take that into consideration as they head into retirement.
That's right. A lot of things to think about. And so talk a little bit about how having a comprehensive strategy that addresses all of these things can help us feel more confident, and how can we get that started?
Jen, it is just people that retire with a written retirement income plan in place have that peace of knowing where their money's coming from, when it's coming from that spot. And I have people all the time, we sit down and they say, okay, and so next year I'm going to switch where I'm getting my money from. Absolutely. So they're on track. They know exactly what's happening with their income plan. That needs to be you as you're heading into retirement. That's important that you understand. That's why I believe it's so important that you have that written retirement income plan. And so if you've saved at least $150,000 for retirement, please, please, please give us a call. Let us help you put together that written retirement income plan. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
This is the Statler Financial Radio Show. We have covered a lot on the show today, but we still have to put Philip to the test. So we've got a round of retirement trivia coming up next. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Philip, wishing you comfort, hope, and joy. Happy holidays.
This is your captain speaking. We're expecting fair skies, a smooth flight, and about a 85% chance or so of making it to our destination. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the flight.
Would you stay on that plane? Of course not. Well, do you have a retirement plan where you probably won't run out of money? You need a plan that no matter the destination will help you get to and through retirement successfully. Philip Statler and the team at Statler Financial Services can design a plan to help you get to your destination as comfortably as possible, even if Wall Street or the economy causes some turbulence. Call Philip Statler and the Statler Financial Services team to start working on your plan. 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815. Get a plan designed to allow you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the retirement you've worked so hard for. 863-285-3815. Firm offers insurance services, advisory services offered through Statler Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisory firm in the state of Florida. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Thanks for joining us today on the Statler Financial Radio Show with Philip Statler. He is president and CEO of Statler Financial Services in Sebring, and he's sweating bullets right now because we're getting ready to put him to the test. Philip, we've got a round of retirement trivia, and our topic this week is a big one. It's inflation. How do you feel about that? Are we ready?
Inflation, that's because, we've not really talked about inflation, but we get inflation, right? It's high.
Mm-hmm.
We know when we go to the grocery store. But if you're going to go back and ask me questions like, way back when.
Yeah, I am.
That's going to be tough because inflation's been all over the place.
I know. It has been all over the place. And this is what makes it fun, is that I get to be in charge of the buzzer and the bell, and you are totally at my mercy. So we'll see how this goes.
Fun for you, right?
It's really fun for me.
I see where this is going.
It's really fun for me. Well, you're right. There will be some rather obscure facts and stats, but I think we'll all learn a little something here. Are you ready for your first question about inflation?
I'm ready.
You're as ready as you're ever going to be? All right.
As ready as I'm ever going to be.
We're going to go back to 1950 for our first question. Median home value in 1950. Was it A, about $3,400, B, about $6,000, C, about $7,300, or D, was it $9,900, just under $10,000. Median home value in 1950. What do you think?
1950.
It's a long time ago.
We're talking about, that's over 70 years ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
I wasn't alive then.
I know. I wasn't trying to say that you were. You certainly weren't buying a home back then.
So I've seen some, like my mom turned 80 this year. And so we did one of those things, where you print it out and says, here's what things were back when you were born.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe I can get kind of close, right? Because, well, that was 10 years further, like 1940 something, right? So I'm going to say that a home, the median home value was probably somewhere around $6,100.
All right.
Right?
Final answer?
I think that's my final answer. I mean, if it was a car, I think a car would have probably been less than $3,400. But
for sure.
But a house, I'm thinking probably somewhere $6,100.
$6,100. All right. Yeah. That final answer, you are close. $7,300 was the right answer on that one. But you were pretty close. Think about that, though, for just a second. Back in the 50s, $7,000 could get you a whole house. Like you can barely get a living room.
You can't get a car now.
You can't get a living room furniture set for under that in some cases.
Some bicycles cost you more than that.
Holy moly! Median home value jumped up to $79,000 by 1990, and then by 2020 it was over $300,000, $330,000. Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Wow. Yeah.
That's pretty wild. All right. I'm going to have to put in some caveats in this next one because obviously inflation has really picked up the pace. But traditionally, Philip, healthcare costs tend to increase at a slightly faster pace than traditional inflation. And so I'm going to ask you about that. And it's a little wonky right now because we had some really different inflation numbers have been coming in. But typically, the American Medical Association says healthcare costs increase by about blank % per year. And you think about typical inflation is quite a bit lower than what it is right now. It's usually quite a bit lower. So healthcare costs typically would be about 4.5% a year, about 5% per year, or about 6% per year. I'm just going to give you three. I'm not going to get too crazy with this.
Oh, that's nice. Nice of you.
Yeah. 4.5%, 5%, or 6% per year. What do you think?
So let's face it, up until 2021, right? Our normal inflation number was way less than 3%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, way. I mean, you have to go back to 2011 to get 3% inflation.
Yeah.
So based on that, and I know we were talking about college education, college has been going up by about 8% a year, but way more than even medical has. So I'm going to say that the medical has probably gone up about 4.5% per year, because that's going to be another, I mean, on average, our inflation has been 2%. So that's another 2.5% on top of that. And I think that sounds about right.
So 4.5% is your final answer? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You got it.
You made me sweat a little bit more there.
I know. I thought that'd be fun. Well, if you're going to get it right, I have to at least be a little bit mean and make you wait. Here's another one that really hurts, actually, as the mom of one college student and one who will be a college student here before too long. How much has the cost of college tuition increased since the 1960s? And these are painful percentages. Has it been A, 247%, B, 361%, or I'm just going to do a third one, C, 403%? Either way, it hurts. Like, that's a lot that it's gone up by.
So let's see, 1960s, today's 1920s, that's 60 years. I got my calculator out just in case you're wondering.
I mean, it's just bad no matter what.
8% a year. I mean, that's just a rough number. Maybe 480%, maybe. Yeah, that's not a number.
That's not one of your choices. Yeah.
Let's and they're close, right?
I know they're all kind of close. So 250%, 360%, or 400%. Let's just call it that.
I'm going to say, based on what I just ran here, about 400%.
Yeah. You're close. It was actually 361%. Listen to this, Philip. In 1963, the annual cost of tuition at a 4-year public school, $243.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. From 1989 to 2016, college costs increased 8 times faster than wages. Talk about a pain point for people preparing for retirement who are trying to help their kids go to school, right?
Man.
Holy moly.
That's a big increase.
It really is. And I think, any parent out there knows just how tough
And sometimes I don't know if it's all justified.
Yeah. No, I know it. It's like, what are they spending it on? What is going on here? Here's a true false one for you.
I got a 50-50 chance.
You got a 50-50 chance. In 1974, President Ford declared inflation as public enemy number 1. Is that true or false?
1970.
We hear Reagan talk a lot about inflation, but you don't always hear about Gerald Ford talking about inflation. What do you think?
I'm just going to have to flip a coin here, Jen, because I'm not sure the right answer, but we'll just say true.
All right. Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
You got it. He also, this was back in the day before you had memes and funny things on Facebook. He encouraged the public to wear these WIN pins, and WIN stood for Whip Inflation Now, but then people turned them upside down so it looked like it said NIM, and then they said that meant need immediate money. So it kind of flopped on him. A little bit of fun facts here for you. You've had some fun talking about inflation today, and it's a big topic, Philip, because Market Watch says nobody suffers more from high inflation than retirees. It's fun to go through all the trivia and stuff, but back in the 70s, the last time we saw some really serious high inflation in the 70s and 80s, it was retirees living on a fixed income who were hit the hardest. Every year, retirees got poorer, and now inflation is the highest we've seen in 40 years. It just keeps going up.
You're absolutely right, Jen, and that's the truth, right? Inflation never sleeps. It never stops. It just keeps on trucking. And now we've seen some of the highest inflation numbers that we've seen in, it seems like, forever, right? And so it just doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. And so how do you maintain your current standard of living? In retirement, you're on an income. And that income purchasing power will get less and less as inflation gets higher and higher. We need to have a plan in place to make sure that you are making the right choices when it comes to compensating for inflation. So how do you figure out how much you'll need in retirement? How are you going to uncover what those risks are that could just chop away at your retirement income? And then how can you make sure that you're going to generate the best options and most possible income you can in retirement? Is having a written retirement income plan. If you don't have one, and you're getting close to retirement. What's close? 5 years, maybe even 10 if you're a real planner, right? Or if you've already retired. Listen, folks, I want to give you 30 minutes of our time to talk to us on the phone, figure out where you are, where you need to be, what you can do to put yourself in the best possible situation heading into retirement. That's why I've taken so much time to develop our core retirement design to help people design the retirement they always dreamed of. Give me 30 minutes of your time. Give us a call at 863-285-3815, and let's see if we can put you on the right track to have the retirement you always dreamed of. Again, that's 863-285-3815. Isn't it worth 30 minutes of your time to have the retirement you always dreamed of? One more time, give us a call at 863-285-3815.
You've been listening to the Statler Financial Radio Show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Be sure to tune in again next time for more insights from Philip, and we'll talk to you then.
Turn your plans of yesterday into yes today. Don't wait another day for a routine checkup of your retirement plans. Call Statler Financial Services, 863-285-3815. That's 863-285-3815.
Information provided during the Statler Financial Radio Show is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. No strategy is guaranteed to be successful.
This radio show is a paid placement.